Something different today. We have an AR Acoustic Research EB101. Now, everything that I'm about to tell you, it's all kind of best effort, best guess. When I talk about when the turntable was made and the different models and where they fell and the differences and all those types of things. So everything I'm about to tell you, take with a huge grain of salt. As far as I could tell, and that's hopefully the last time I say that, this was manufactured around 1984, manual belt drive turntable. Weight and dimensions, I normally pull those off the internet. I just don't weigh or measure these things, so I just put not listed. It's not a large turntable though. It is slightly larger than the AR XA-XB, but it's not a gigantic increase in size. Series information for the AR EB101. Well, if we look at AR's turntable lineup, starting from the 60s to the 80s. In the 60s and 70s, it was the AR model XA and XB. And then in the later 70s, there was the 77 XB. I don't know much about the 77 XB. I know quite a bit about XAs and XBs. Then it gets super confusing and muddy, and there are tons of different turntables, so I'm going to try to name them off. I have no idea the order in which they came. I could probably pour over pages and pages and pages of internet research and maybe pin some of this stuff down, but you know, for a 10-minute, 15-minute video, I'm not going to do that. So you're going to have to do some research on your own. Even the Vinyl Nirvana website, which, you know, that Dave at Vinyl Nirvana, I mean, he knows a lot about the AR line, and he doesn't have a lot of information about this particular table or series information about the other tables. So my best guess is we had 5, and I might even be missing some models. Well, actually, I think we had 4 complete turntables and then one plinth that was being sold. So as far as I could tell, we had the AR ES1, we had the AR turntable, we had the AR the Legend turntable, we had the AR EB101, and when I see images of all of those turntables, they all look very, very, very similar. Now, there were slight differences between them, different tone arms, which isn't a slight difference, but different tone arms, different plinths. So I think some of them had kind of a split and others didn't. Probably different shaped dust covers. Maybe the platters were different. Maybe some were square, maybe some were angled like this one. I don't really know. I'll try to flash up some images. Right, I have just some of the random model turntables, and I'll try to, you know, catch some images where there are distinct differences between them. But I think it all comes down to details, very nuanced, you know, differences between all of those tables. They also had an AR ETL1, and as far as I can tell, that was just a plinth and a motor, and then you fitted your own tone arm to it. And I don't know if the ETL1 was an EB101 base or a Legend or a ES1 or the AR turntable or whatever. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Getting into this particular table, let's talk about aesthetics. I bought this when I was on my AR turntable kick, and it's a good turntable. It's a really good turntable. So don't get me wrong, but the looks to this turntable, in images I saw online, and when they had a few for sale out on eBay, I thought, it's an okay looking turntable. It's not a great looking turntable. It's not like a Denon, from the 80s. A Denon from the 80s they're beautiful. This is just kind of like okay. And the reason why I'm doing the review on this was actually in my basement, attached to my Macintosh system, which is an 80s vintage system, and I pulled this out and I put my Denon DP60L in its place, just because I really like the Denon, and arguably the Denon is a better turntable, higher quality turntable, but it's also prone to having more failures. I think it's a better looking turntable. I don't know acoustically if it's a better turntable. This one might actually be acoustically better, but you know, my ears are shot anyway from 20 years in the military, so I don't know that I could really tell much of a difference. But aesthetically, this is just okay. It has a gel coat manufactured tone arm that's stamped AR. I don't know if when these were sold, if they came with different tone arms or different model tone arms or different manufacturer tone arms. You could replace this tone arm on this particular version of the EB101. There are other versions of the EB101 where there's a slight difference or different configuration. So swapping the tone arm is either more difficult without or impossible without modification, if I remember correctly. But when I go over kind of how the turntable's set up, I'll see if I can remember to point that out. Straight tone arm, fixed head shell, which I'm not a big fan of fixed head shells, but you know, it is what it is. Operation of this is really easy because it's a manual turntable. You turn it on, you use the tone arm lever, you know, you move the tone arm over, and then you drop it. Now, one thing that I always do with these, you know, whether it's an SME tone arm or a gel coat tone arm or you know, even like a modern, if I had an MMF or something like that, is you don't just drop the tone arm down. I had a Lin Aikido for a while, or a Lin Basic with an Aikido tone arm. So you don't just drop it. So what I do is to make sure it damps, and it won't damp because I don't have a head shell on here, but you know, you go up and then you don't just drop. You kind of like get it to a position and see how that tone arm, this stupid thing's gonna keep, see how the tone arm just kind of, that mechanism just kind of drops itself. That's how the damping works on these types of turntables. If you just go like this, you may not get the complete benefit of the damping system on this. So whether it's this turntable or my system deck, I have a system deck that's very similar to this, and I'll do a review on that when I pull that out of my system and I rotate a different turntable in there, or when I get rid of it. But operation of this is pretty easy, except for maybe that little thing. Hookup is easy. Common issues with these, I would imagine that the issues common to this are issues common with all AR turntables. So number one, belt. If it's not working, belt or motor issues. But motor issues on these, I don't know of any particular issues with this where motors fail. So I wouldn't say it's a bad motor, but I definitely would say these are missing belts often when they're not working on eBay. Springs that are either that are well worn, or springs that have been incorrectly adjusted. Those are common issues with these. RCA cables, you know, just generic RCA cable failure, which is common to all turntables. This uses internal grounding, so sometimes these will hum a little bit more than you're used to, but the hum will typically disappear, and you can modify these to where that hum is not present. And some of it is motor hum, some of it is just given the nature of how these are, the ground is summed on these, which is kind of it's a thing I can never wrap my head around exactly how that makes sense, I guess. So anyway, we have all those issues that are common to all AR turntables. I don't know of anything beyond that, other than, sorry, my phone's blowing up. One of my family members is trying to text me. So we have all that stuff that's common to all AR turntables. What I would look for on these are the things that I would look for in all AR turntables. I would look for, number one, is it running? You know, is it not working? Do they have good photos? Does it have the slip mat on it? This actually has a Hudson Hi-Fi slip mat. It came with, I believe these were sold, well, I don't know if these were sold with like a, I think it was a wool slip mat that this came with. Or it was fleece or something like that. I didn't like it. This is just a Hudson Hi-Fi silicone mat. So, you know, I would look for completeness, the dust cover, the condition of the dust cover. You're not going to find one of these. I don't know if anyone makes a replacement on these. Sorry, I gotta stop. Just stop texting me, please. Right now, it's not a good time. fact, let me quiet my phone. That'll help. All right, so I shouldn't be this grumpy. So functionality, completeness, dust cover, veneer, right? Now, there is, from what I understand, a UK model, right? There's a UK model versus this particular model where it has a black plinth. I think those are, at least what I've read, those are of lesser quality. So I'm not sure if they went with a different manufacturer overseas. And I've completely skipped over a couple of things. So let me come back, and that was pretty much all you need to look for if you're looking for one of these. Let's talk about the functionality or how you would operate this. So it has a traditional VTF adjustment. It does have VTA, so you can raise and lower the tone arm. It has anti-skate knob, right? Then you have the tone arm controls. It has a nice little locking clip here. Again, the head shell is mounted into the tone arm, so you can't, as far as I know, you can't not use any different type of head shell. What's interesting is the tone arm wires these actually go to the RCA cables. So there's no coupling here, right? So you're directly wired into the RCA cables, which is kind of nice. So sorry that I skipped that again. I get a text on my phone and I get all discombobulated. Also, if you notice, it is, right, has a sub-chassis suspension, so it's a 3-point suspension. You know, this is really good for vibration damping to an extent. Like you can tap, right, and you can tap here, but it's very, very, very sensitive to footfalls on like wooden floors because it'll help damp against vibration, but it won't help damp against like an entire floor moving, right? This is actually going to make it skip and, you know, bounce and stuff like that. So it's kind of a dual-edged sword with this. Like, you know, there's good and bad to this design. Now, this particular model, this particular version of the EB101, this has a tone arm board here that you can remove, so you can more easily modify, right, the turntable with different tone arms. So you can buy what is that called? A tone arm board for, you know, to mount like an SME tone arm or, you know, a different manufacturer tone arm. You know, people make aftermarket ones of this, so that's what makes this one nice. Earlier versions, if I can post a photo, I'll post a photo of an earlier version where I don't think that's present or it's in a different configuration. My memory's kind of sketchy on that. I mean, it's been, you know, months since I've looked at the, you know, the nuanced differences between all of these. So anyway, so that's, you know, some of the characteristics of this table, what to look out for. If you're looking to pick one of these up for prices or for to either use or repair, unfortunately, as I checked this morning, there was one that was sold, and it was this one that I bought. So they don't come up for sale often on eBay. So I'm completely gonna just guess on some of the pricing information here. There are more data points on the AR turntable than there are on the EB101. So there's a crazy, somebody's asking a crazy amount for an AR the turntable. I think it was an AR the turntable this morning. It's like $1,800, buy it now or something like that, which is absolutely insane. Now there are differences between the turntable and the EB101. I think it's got a higher quality tone arm, might have a better motor, you know. But the last AR the turntable that sold for I think about $850, or between $850 and $900. Now I can't really use that in my pricing for this one because they are different turntables. This one I paid $500 for, and I was on this AR kick, and it came up, and I couldn't find a sale for one, and I was like, if I don't buy this, I'll probably never see one again. And then I shortly got a system deck after that for a really great price, and so I think I overpaid for it, to be honest with you. But you know, so I don't know. I would guess one of these in perfect working condition, probably better cosmetic condition than this one, especially if it has a different tone arm. Like if this had an SME 3009 or an SME tone arm or a higher quality tone arm or maybe a Lin tone arm, you know, I could see the $500, maybe $6 or $7. knowing what I know now about this turntable, I think a user, one that's working, and I didn't have to do anything to this. It came with the belt. It came with everything. It just didn't have a cartridge on it, and I was running a Nagaoka MP200 on it, which is a pretty cool cartridge that I kind of stumbled my way into. Again, I paid $500, and I think that's too much. I think $400 for one of these would be a better price for a working for a working table that's maybe not perfect. I mean, this is really clean. The dust cover is really clean. So I guess I don't know why I'm not considering it as, you know, being really clean. I think it's just the look. There's something about the look. I just don't dig the look. This is, I believe, walnut, but it looks like oak, and I don't. There's something about it I just don't like. I just don't jive with it. You know, and then for parts, I have no idea. You know, if I were to come across one of these, or if I wanted to pick up one of these as a parts unit, I don't know. I don't know what I would spend. I wouldn't buy one without a dust cover unless I was gonna run this in my living room, and this is just me personally because I have a drawer that I slide out that the turntable sits in, so it's hidden. Or if I were gonna put this into like an entertainment unit where there's a shelf or something that it sits on where it doesn't make sense to use a dust cover. If one of these was beat up, you know, as far as the veneer goes, I wouldn't want to re-veneer one of these because of this little groove here. That would just make it more complicated. I would probably veneer over that, or maybe build a custom plinth for it or something. I don't know. So I would not pay much for one of these personally. You know, and chances are if I'm picking one of these up as a parts unit, it's going to be missing. It's going to be beat to snot, or it's going to be missing something really important like the tone arm or the dust cover, right? Or the head shell is missing, and what are you going to do at that point? You have to buy another head shell that came with this particular Gelco tone arm, and I don't know how easy those are to find on the internet. So, you know, again, pricing information, I'm completely guessing. So probably a less than two. I would definitely spend way less than two on parts or to repair. I think $400 for one that's pretty clean like this one that's working, that you don't really have to do much to, is a good price. And I would say I would reserve the $600 or more for something that, you know, an example that maybe has the box and all the manuals and it's kind of like new old stock, or it's got an upgraded tone arm where, you know, the extra $200 is worth it. You know, if this had, again, an SME or a higher grade Gelco or a Lin or a Grace or something like that fitted to it, I could see maybe $600. Again, I overpaid for it, but I was just real giddy about AR turntables, and you know, again, I thought, what the hell? I just don't have $500 to throw around, but I thought I don't know that I'll see another one. You know, so anyway, that's the AR EB101. Solid turntable, solid AR turntable, solid build, sonically sounds great. Kind of homely, if you ask me, or boring. Maybe boring is a better way to put it. Not really homely. Maybe it is homely. I don't know. You know, it just I don't know. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up for the AR EB101. I have another turntable review I want to get done today. I'm kind of going into the holiday break, and I want to clear out some old reviews and projects, and today and tomorrow and the next day are going to be excellent opportunities to do that. So anyway, as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.